Hi, I'm Richard Wrighton, I'm Practice Development Lead for Early Help. It's designed to help and support staff in early help, and that's across the whole of early help, to look at standardising practice and having some real focus on relationships, parental conflict, and seeing if we can make some changes within the town around presenting needs for complex families, and providing a service that meets their needs in terms of helping them as opposed to doing things for them or with them, so they actually become more empowered to do their own thing, find their own solutions, and occasionally come for support, but generally making sure that they're getting the best service for their own needs and not something that's dictated to them by services. I suppose my background goes back a while. Been in social care for 28 years, which makes me old, quite older than quite a few people. 28 years, qualified as a social worker for 23 years. I've had various jobs and roles in social care, from working within children's homes to being a children and family social worker and a team manager for care leavers, foster and adoption team, and more recently a team of absolutely superb family support workers that were delivering an intensive response in relation to families that were struggling and potentially having to face the concern around the children being taken into care. So all that experience has been around working with colleagues within a team or outside of a team with different agencies, and actually doing the best we can to support and help the families, and being very aware of how a team that you're working with is functioning and what you can do to get the best out of them. So as a manager, I saw it as my role to get the best out of the staff and to develop them and really get them to think what it might be like for that family, and therefore provide a service and interventions that best meet their needs, having given some consideration what it might be like for that child and and the family living with whatever it is they're having to deal with, which always lends to a better understanding and having some empathy with the people they're going to kind of work with. After that, it's all about how they manage that. So quite often I would spend time with workers helping them manage their anxieties, managing the emotions that come with it, because it's very important that they are looked after too. So the staff are looked after, the families are looked after, and we can start to model that and appreciate that we need to look after each other as well as the families. Part of my skill and strength is around looking at the strengths of other people and getting them to identify that themselves and to work to develop those strengths and work on those and produce the best results as a result of that, and giving them the confidence to go and do what they're either trained in, what they've learned, and then how that applies to their practice, and have a bit of confidence and self-belief in what they do. And even in the difficult times is then to come back and think about it, reflect on it, and think about what they might like to do differently, what they have learned from that experience, what's something they might not want to do again. But equally, it's all, whether it's a success or not, it's about being very clear around the learning and kind of thinking about moving forward and getting the best out of each other so that they get the best out of the families and the children they're working with. I suppose one of the things about my personality is I'm generally optimistic. My glass is usually half full, and if it starts to empty, I will look for a solution to see what can get me back to what I need to feel that optimism. And I'd like to think that I can then help people transfer those kind of skills into their work, into working with people, particularly where people are feeling a little bit helpless or hopeless about their situation, and that change is possible. However, we can't do this all on our own, so we have to work as a team and work collectively. And once we've kind of understood that, then we realise that we can do all kinds of things and achieve so many things as long as we've got the right support around us. So a lot of what we're talking about ultimately is around relationships. So it's relationships with each other as professionals, it's relationships with the people that we're working for, and it's the relationships between different organisations, agencies that we might come across. And as long as we're all working towards the same thing, which usually is around helping children, helping the families to be the best they can, then we've kind of got something that we can work with. I also think it's really, really important that we think about learning all the time. So I'm not somebody that will look at failing. It will always be, it's an opportunity. And if we didn't succeed the first time, then what do we learn from it? And let's have another go, making the changes we need to make. But in terms of failing, I don't see that as an option. I just see that as it's part of the process. And once we've accepted that, then we can achieve whatever it is we like. It all sounds rather intense, but I'm not actually that intense. I kind of like humour. I also think humour is really, really important. And if we can kind of find a little bit of light entertainment along the way, then that helps us. It helps us feel better. And if we can help families have a look and see the things that are strong and funny in their world, then that encourages them to think actually things aren't so difficult or dark as it may seem. So all in all, it's doing the best we can collectively, not on our own, to do the best for the children and young people. Having said having a sense of humour, I don't know any good jokes. So you're not going to get that much out of me in that sense, but we'll have a little laugh along the way. But ultimately, it's getting the best out of whoever that we need to work with and whoever works with me.